thought, we do something a bit different for the second one, because I think it's great meeting people one-to-one, and I think it's great having these sort of meetups, bringing people together who are interested in, sort of lifestyle design, working remotely, etc. But I thought it would be more interesting to maybe share some more sort of stories, personal stories around the whole sort of digital nomad movement, and sort of allow more kind of discussion. So I mean, these sort of meetups, we're experimenting at the moment, and we'd love feedback. So if you guys want to let us know. So we have a couple of presentations tonight, and so we're going to run through them. We're going to try and run through them quickly because we have to be out of here by 9:30. The venue told us they're going to kick us out if we don't finish before then. So we've got Johnny Miller from Mattia, who's going to do basically tell us about their story about he moved his startup to Morocco, and we've got Marek who built Event Hunt, and which is basically a global events platform. So say if you rock up in a city in South America or Asia, you can just immediately check what's going on, and you'll find loads of entrepreneurship events and cool stuff. So he's going to tell us how he launched that, and all of a sudden had like 30 curators or so in different cities. So yeah, a lot of really cool collaborative projects, and those are just two examples. We've got Yaniv from Silicon Milkroundabout. Did I say your name right, Yaniv? Yeah. Excellent. He's going to tell us about a really cool competition they've got going on, where they're basically giving away free trip to Scotland, which is where I'm from. So yeah, it's awesome. And we've also got freelancer.com. We've got someone who's going to kind of give us an overview of that, and I thought at the end it'd be good to do like a bit of a Q&A. So if you have any questions, you're like why the hell did you guys do that, or what's the difference between freelancer and no desk, or blah blah blah, or how'd you code that so quickly, etc. You can ask your questions, and I'll ask all the speakers to come up at the end. So first off, we're gonna have. Sorry, I forgot one particularly important speakers. So that's George and Rishi from Incubus, who have basically provided the space tonight, and they have some really exciting plans for it. So I'd like to, if they are in the room. Oh yes, sorry, George. Do you want to come up and give us a brief kind of overview? What's going on? What's going on with this place? What are these deep deck chairs doing here?
Hey guys, so I'm only one half of Incubus. I think my co-founder's still at the bar. He should join us shortly. This is very bizarre seeing you all in deck chairs, so I apologise for that. But we asked Camden, hey, can you help us out with some chairs for this event? And they rocked up with 100 deck chairs, which is just so Camden. But gives you a taste of the area. We're just based around the corner. Incubus probably sounds like a rip-off of the band Incubus. It does have meaning behind that. We bought a bus about a year ago now, a London double-decker bus. John, pictures. There's it's a bus right now, just parked around the corner, and that was our first space because we wanted to kind of have a space to work with our community and to bring people like you guys together to do some kind of mentorship, workshops. But as you know, it's very expensive when you go to cities and try and sit down and find an office, let alone kind of co-working and desk space. It's just super expensive. So this is the bus. We've been working on this for a year, but we're actually moving into this new space very soon. And the reason why I want to talk to you guys is because the whole digital nomad community is pretty awesome. I have to admit, I haven't tried it out myself. I think it's something that I definitely have to do one day, maybe on my bus, if it makes it outside the M25. But I think something quite exciting is we're going to be bringing 40 desks into this space here. Maybe that's a bit ambitious, but maybe 30, 35. And what we want to do is offer all those desks for free to freelancers, creatives, and people who can contribute to the community. So what we're thinking is maybe if we could give you guys, next slide, chaps. If we could give you guys free desks, would you be willing to give maybe 5 hours of your time a week to helping a local startup? We're trialing that in the next few weeks. So if any of you guys are interested in desks in this space and you want to, say, give back and help a local startup, then let us know, because we'd love to have you. And I think kind of the whole thing behind it is just because, as we know, it's very expensive on both sides of the table. If you're a freelancer, you're looking for a desk, it's kind of expensive. And if you're a startup trying to look for support and help when you're growing your business, it's a maker's market, right? And the rates are very expensive. So hopefully by doing something like this, we can kind of just bring a bit of harmony to the kind of industry. But anyway, who knows, it's early days. I think I've used up more than enough of your time. You will literally get kicked out at 9:30. But thanks for giving me the time. And any questions afterwards around the desk, just let me know. So cheers.
Okay, can you hear me as well? So, can any of you remember what you were doing 1,000 days ago? It was May 2012. I remember it vividly because I'd just flown over 7,000 miles to South America to take part in a new incubator called Startup Chile with my two best friends from university, Dorothy and Dean. It sounds like an absolute dream scenario, but there was just one small problem. Having just graduated, we barely knew what the term startup meant. In fact, Dean thought it might have something to do with engines. And apparently, we were about to begin building one. In the past 1,000 days, we've been on an adventure, and a steep learning curve to find out. Our mission at Maptia is to build the most inspirational map in the world, a kind of encyclopedia filled with beautiful visual stories from all over the planet, designed to inspire us to travel and to focus, to care more about the environment and the people around us. Whilst we didn't set out to be a nomadic startup, we've lived and worked on 4 continents on our quest to bring this vision to life. And this evening, I'd love to share this journey with you, the highs and lows as we follow our route over the past 3 years from Chile to Seattle to Morocco to Switzerland and back here to the UK, all condensed to roughly 100 days a minute. And once we perform this feat of time travel, I'd like to share with you 5 beliefs that I believe have been instrumental in helping us get to where we are today. I also just want to say a huge thanks to Jonathan, who's put in a lot of work to organising this hashtag London Meetup, and to the hashtag Nomads team, who've done an incredible job of building a really strong community over the past couple of years. They were proud to be part of it. So, like some of you here today, we're products of the British higher education system. We met at university in Durham, where Dorothy and I started a small travel magazine together. And after graduating, we shared one goal in life: not to fall onto the corporate conveyor belt, and ideally never to work from 9 to 5. In fact, the only salary I've ever had to date has been working as a part-time surf instructor. Dorothy and Dean were here above me, and they put their geography degrees to good use, flying to South America and spending 6 months stood at the side of the road with their thumbs up. They spent most of their time lost in the mountains, but on a rare excursion to civilization, they couchsurfed with a Haitian prince in Buenos Aires. He didn't have a crown or anything, but he was really ambitious and passionate. And he said, if you move to Chile for 6 months, they'll give you $40,000. It started to feel way too much like finding a genie from Aladdin. That genie was Startup Chile. At this point, we still thought that the name Startup Chile must refer to some Chilean business engine, maybe powered by llamas, we weren't sure. But what we did know was that travel was the solution to all of the world's problems, and we were going to build the only damn map that any traveller was ever going to need. We may set our target relatively high, but luckily Startup Chile matched us when it came to blind optimism, and we got it. A far-flung government was indeed giving us $40,000, and we were moving to Chile. So just over 1,000 days ago, we landed in the middle of a Chilean entrepreneurial ecosystem, alongside over 200 other teams from more than 60 different countries around the world. And when you put that many optimistic people into an office together, everything was exciting. Accounting is exciting. Imagine the pandemonium it was when they started giving out free sugary croissants. So, apart from gaining a few pounds, we also gained a lot of knowledge from the incredible peer-to-peer network. And let's face it, we need it. Dean wrote his first line of code there. I started to learn the ropes of marketing and building a community. And Dorothy started closing the gap between how we imagined Maptia and what it actually looks like. So it was a humble beginning. 6 months down the line, our grant money was... back on? Yes. Yeah. 6 months down the line, our grant money was dwindling, and we knew that we needed to make a bold move if we were going to keep learning the skills to build Maptia. We heard about an accelerator program called Techstars, based in Seattle, one that carried the promise of more funds and world-class mentorship. Once again, we knew that the odds were stacked against us. Less than 1% of all applicants make it into the final batch of the 10 Techstars teams that are selected each year. And it's statistically harder to get into than Harvard or Yale. Yet we resolved to give the application our best shot. We wanted the application video to be a genuine reflection of us as a team. And so for good luck, Dean wrote a song for the second half of the video. It included the lyrics, situation prototype, nearly made it overnight. Philip's looking pretty tight, just asked my mum if she likes it. And this song was apparently insane enough to get us an invite to their pre-selection day in Seattle, along with nearly 100 other people too. But talking to the other founders at the event really emphasised how out of our depth we were. Most of the other applicants seemed to be previous employees at Google or Amazon, but we've come a long way, so we vowed to use the time well and show them how committed we were. During the 3 days we had in Seattle, we set up more than 10 coffee meetings with mentors on the program and convinced the Techstars team to let us use their co-working space during the day. And since we were low on money, we found some fairly comfortable cut-offs of soundproof matting that we used to sleep on the office floor at night, and we didn't tell them this until after we were accepted. It was probably thanks to our British accents, but somehow we were invited to the final round of interviews, which involved our entire team flying out to Las Vegas. The experience felt completely surreal, as we attempted to second-guess all of the tough questions that we knew would be coming our way. The interview itself flew by, and although we walked out feeling that we shared an honest reflection of who we were, and we parried some of their questions well, ultimately, we knew that the product was at a very early stage, and that our chances remained incredibly slim. Then, unbelievably, just a couple of hours later, the Techstars director took Dorothy to one side and quietly shared the news that we'd made the cut. We were quite literally over the moon. During the first few weeks of the Techstars program, the tornado of advice from experienced mentors caused us to question almost everything we were doing. This process is affectionately named mental whiplash. we found that despite working irrationally long hours and pushing ourselves to do more faster, which is the textile mantra, we ended up confused and lost our focus on what we wanted to build, especially since we lacked the experience and confidence in our own ideas. As the underdogs of the group, we often felt that perhaps we didn't deserve to be there, or that the progress we were making wasn't quite good enough. And this led to some serious sleep deprivation and a near perpetual state of anxiety, especially for Dorothy, who was tasked with preparing for the big demo day pitch. But as always, and despite nearly pushing us to breaking point, the Textiles family was supportive and rallied around us. Demo day was a showdown at the end of the whole program, and each company had to pitch their startup to a room full of 600 investors. Somehow, in the end, and stronger from all the stress and emotion that we've been through, we pulled everything together, and the presentation went remarkably well. Though we were still at a very early stage, we learned a great deal about ourselves, about what we did, and perhaps more importantly, didn't want to build. And we proved to ourselves that we could hold our own, even when frantically treading water and constantly feeling like a failure. In Panama, there's a famous type of hat known as the Borsalino. The test of a true Borsalino is that it can be rolled up and passed through a wedding ring, only to emerge on the other side and return to its original dimensions. This is what textiles felt like, a 12-week-long Borsalino test. It rolled us up in 100 different ways. Our emotions ran high, and we were forced to question all of our beliefs and philosophies. Even time felt distorted. However, as we emerged on the other side and successfully unrolled ourselves, we were rewarded with a sense of self-knowledge and the lessons of a uniquely intensive learning experience, one that cannot be found anywhere elsewhere. And in the end, our experience at Textiles only served to confirm more strongly certain core beliefs that we held along the way. The map was never something that we founded with the aim of making money, and nor would we let that dictate our future path. We'd no desire to build a flashy, short-lived product with no real substance or meaning, only to be swallowed up by a bigger company in a couple of years' time. And that we wanted to build a company from its starting first with a purpose and the impact that we wanted to make in the world. We definitely needed some perspective. After deciding that VC investment in the US was not the right path for us, we stayed true to our backpacking selves. And we did what we were good at, living on a budget. We wanted to make the remaining investment last as long as physically possible. First, we needed a new location. Our visa in the States had run out, and moving here to London felt too extravagant, given that all we really needed was an internet connection. So we laid out all of the possible options on a world map, and settled for the fourth continent on a journey, Africa, and more specifically, Morocco. Of course, the big cities were a little too metropolitan for us, so we headed to a little 4-minute pond in the speed fishing village of Tagzoo. We had goats wake us in the morning, and waves crashing on the shore right below our windows. Our house was the white one with the deck. We went to a scrapyard and haggled for making some school tables and chairs, scraped off the bird poop, did some rebranding, painting the Mapty logo on the back of the chairs. And this was just one of the ways that we managed to spend very little money. Every week we took a huge backpack to the local market in the fantastically named Banana Village. We filled it with fruit and veg, including bananas, and this kept our food bill down to £7 per person per week. The house was generally very clean, but we did share it with a large family of cockroaches. And on one occasion, some of the babies accidentally ended up in one of my pasta dishes. And on another morning, I woke up to a fairly early surf, and the waves were glassy perfect, and I zipped up my wetsuit, only to find something crawling in the small of my back. And it was like a 3-inch, like, giant cockroach. So, like any early stage startups, we have a tendency to burn the candle at both ends. But unlike in Techstars, Tagazook surrounded us with ways to keep our perspective. From hiking to rooftop yoga and surfing. And Tagazook gets some pretty impressive swells. During the winter, this was taken during Hurricane Hercules, which snapped several surfboards. And if you missed a wave, you could easily get swept several miles down the coast towards Camden. But most importantly, Morocco allows us to step outside the startup echo chamber and to find a sense of perspective and clarity. After some rooftop brainstorming sessions and a lot of soul searching, we realised that the essence of our mission, Maptia's mission, was actually storytelling. Our purpose was to build the impactful tools for those storytellers who dedicate their lives to inspiring positive change in the world. We believe that a powerfully told story can foster empathy between cultures and across continents. Stories encourage us to care more for the people and the environment around us, and they inspire us to make the most of our time here on the planet. So it was with this newfound purpose, a lot of late night designing and coding, that we triumphantly launched the first version of Maptia. That was just over a year ago. A month or so later, after returning to England to spend Christmas at home with our families, we woke up on New Year's Day with an earth-shattering hangover. Unfortunately, this wasn't the type that could be fixed with a fry-up breakfast and a smoothie. It was more of an emotional, existential hangover. It was brought on by the fact that no matter how many hours we worked, and the sobering realization that despite our careful budgeting in Morocco, we finally exhausted our Techstars investment. We felt torn between the urgent need to keep the lights on and to grow Maptia into something with a tangible impact, while at the same time not compromising on the philosophies and integrity of our company. And although we still believed wholeheartedly in our vision for Maptia, we questioned our ability to make it happen, whether we had the necessary skills, and whether our time and energy might have more impact elsewhere. This train of uncertainty hit Dorothy particularly hard, and led to what we affectionately termed her quarter-life crisis. That Christmas turned out to be a tough time for us, and although burnout was definitely a contributing factor, we also felt paralysed by our inability to work faster and to make more progress. Despite working long hours, and the fact that we were attempting to build something that really demanded a much bigger and more experienced team. The pressure we were putting ourselves under had simply become too much. But during the course of a few uncertain weeks, we revisited and renewed our core values and mission, giving ourselves the time and space to rediscover a little perspective. We found enough confidence to carry on with the journey. And together we resolved to do whatever it would take to give Maptia the chance that we believed it deserved, even if that meant moving again and working freelance a couple of days a week to keep the lights on. So at the beginning of last year, we did indeed relocate again, this time to Dean's homeland, Switzerland. Although personally, I think you just wanted to make sure you didn't receive another one of my cockroach stews. A few people have wondered why on earth we would move to Switzerland, thinking that it's a pretty expensive compared to Morocco. And yes, it's true. The food is expensive there. We've had years of training in the art of living like Jews, and have discovered that even the Aldi budget fondue and raclette cheeses still taste pretty good. So after a traumatic start to the year, the rest of 2014 was actually remarkably productive and creative. We found a great freelance partner who was really supportive of our work at Maptia, and our philosophies have matured, filtering down into the design and functionality of the product itself. And although we still wrestle with the demons of uncertainty, we know that the idea of having to follow a more traditional career path, and seeing our lives plotted out for the next 5 or 10 years, will be even more terrifying. We felt more determined and inspired than ever to make this work. And in December last year, we launched Map Tier 2.0. Which was a huge step forward for us in terms of functionality and design. And since then, we've been working with a diverse bunch of remarkable storytellers, from National Geographic photojournalists, non-profits like Charity Water, to awesome adventurers like Alistair Humphreys, and world-renowned photographers like Steve McCarthy. Right now, we have a lot of opportunities, but frankly, still no idea what the next chapter will bring. And to be honest, we're a little bit amazed that we've made it this far. So, as you would have gathered, the last 1,000 days have been a swirling, chaotic, colourful ride for us, with some intense highs and lows. Somehow it doesn't seem possible that those tiny squares represent 1,000 days. It doesn't look like all that long. 3 years have gone by in a flash, and although individual days may have been challenging or stressful, together they've taught us a great deal, and we're immensely grateful to be on that journey. 1,000 days seems like an appropriate moment to step back and reflect. And I'd like to share 5 beliefs that have been instrumental in helping us get to where we are today. Naivety is actually a tool that you can use to your advantage. 1,000 days ago, our collective experience was a student travel magazine and selling sweets in a school tuck shop. Had we known what was actually possible at the time, or how challenging the road ahead was going to be, we probably would have been too daunted to even start. But by the time we realised the scale of what we were taking on, Dean was already knee-deep in JavaScript, and the only way to finish what we'd started was to keep going. Our naivety propelled us into an extremely powerful position where we were surrounded by opportunities and learning faster than we ever had before. And the honest truth is that most of the time, we still don't have a clue what we're doing. It often feels like we're making it up as we go along. We've had moments of panic where this can get overwhelming, but we overcame them because we believe in what we're building, and we believe that we can learn anything we need along the way. And as the underdog, you have more tenacity, more blind optimism to take on something that those in the know would never try. Last year, Dorothy's sister, Ella, interned with us in Morocco, and one afternoon I asked her to illustrate these 11 untranslatable words that didn't have a direct equivalent in the English language, for a short blog post on that. And content marketing is, in my mind, all about trying to come up with something unusual and interesting topics that might have that remarkable spark. And in most cases, it's impossible to predict. We've published tens of other blog posts that have been totally unremarkable. But within a matter of days, these beautiful whimsical illustrations have been seen by more than 2 million people. And Ella, who was only 21 recently, had an agent and an international book deal with Random House. And the book is now near the top of the New York Times bestseller list. And this is the difference that remarkable can make. So there's no formula for being remarkable, and often the response can be unpredictable. But whatever it is that we're doing, we try to consider how we can create something truly outstanding and unique, and something that will capture people's emotions and win their love and loyalty. The most fundamental step we ever took as a team and as a company was to define our mission, our purpose, our why, and the change that we hope to make in the world. And it was that's what makes us determined to give us our best, and gives us the courage and momentum to keep going, even when things get tough.
Sorry.
This is our travel manifesto. which has now been shared by tens of thousands of travellers around the world, and hundreds of them have signed it and sent in their photos. We aim for our community engagement with Maptia to be about subscribing to a set of philosophies and about finding like-minded people who share a love of travel and who believe in making a change in the world. We're doing our best to give our community a chance to get behind what we believe and to give them a way to share it.
Yeah, sorry about this. Yeah.
No worries. With Maptia, it's the way we build the company and the steps we take along the path that matter most to us. Milestones will come and go, as do successes and failures, but we always try to make the journey worth it regardless. Fostering appreciation, mindfulness, and a sense of gratitude for the moments along the way isn't always easy, but we do our best to give ourselves regular shots of perspective. Whether it's trading stories with members of our community who come and couch surf with us, or celebrating small product milestones, we do our best to disconnect from our technological umbilical cords for short periods of creative renewal. We're also quietly amazed by the fact that despite having lived and worked alongside each other pretty much 24/7 for the last 1,000 days, we're still great friends, and we've been there to support each other through the tough times. Shortly after we joined Techstars, the yellow, shoe-sporting and wonderfully kind Rand Fishkin shared his mentally wisdom with us that stuck with us through the highs and the lows of our journey. With a cheeky grin, he said, after we first shared our vision for Maptia, his eyes widened and he told us, "However it works out, it'll make for one hell of a story. And what is life if not shooting for one hell of a story?" So one of my favourite books is an anthology that I brought with me, which contains short travel stories of random acts of kindness and human connection. And it's restored my faith in humanity many times. And it's hard to disagree with the idea that giving to others without expecting something in return is something that you should do in life. But when it comes to business, it's often very hard to put this idea into practice. Pretty much all the time, we'll feel insanely busy, and I often catch myself subconsciously calculating what the return or outcome of my time is going to be. So although it's tricky to break out of this mindset, we found that helping others makes us feel pretty good, and more often than not, it usually leads to serendipitous connections and benefits down the line. Usually those that we never could have predicted. And with this in mind, we try to take the long-term view and to find ways to add genuine value to the individuals within our community. And many times over the years, we've been immensely grateful for the advice and support given freely by our mentors, fellow founders, and the wider startup community. And for us, paying it forward, doing our best to make a point of helping others, even when we think we don't have the time, has become a really important part of our culture at Maptia. And incidentally, is what we found so inspiring about the #Nomads community. So I'd like to leave you with a question to think about. What creative project or idea would you like to see in the world? And do you absolutely need to be in London to make it happen? And if not, where else in the world would you like to work from? And finally, ask yourself, regardless of the outcome of this project or dream that you might have, might it lead to a story that you would be proud to share in 1,000 days' time? Okay, that's it, folks. I'll be around for drinks. If you have anything else you'd like to know about Maptia or startup life in Morocco, let me know. Here's the next 1,000 days. Thank you.
So next up, we have Marek. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, Marek, and we're going to switch the order, so yeah, it's going to escape just that, Marek. If you want, like, it's up to you.
Hello, hello. Hi there. I'm Marek. I'm originally from Czech Republic, from Prague, and I came here 7 months ago, I think. And I have one problem, and that was because I'm running a startup for the past 2 years, and when you are in Prague, there are not much or not many events happening, so you can easily get bored and you can't meet many people. Or actually, when you are born there, you actually know everyone. So so I came here. And I was actually looking for events and looking to meet people and just experience the startup world here. And I spent so much time just looking through the Meetup, through the Eventbrite, and all these other sites. And so I put up like a list on my site, on my personal site, before to the events that I'm going to. And my friends actually started liking it, and they were actually going to my site and looking for which events are happening there in London. So. And me being kind of like a lazy person, and I wanted to kind of like automate it. So I was scraping the data getting the data from Meetup, from Eventbrite, and these other resources. So everything was kind of like automated coming to my site. And one weekend I decided that okay, why not to turn it into kind of like a platform that others can reuse it. So in just like 2 days, I built this site, eventhunt.io. I think the name itself, probably most of you know what a product hunt is. It's, for these who don't know, it's a site where you can feature your product, or other people can feature your product. If you get to the first place, you will get massive amount of traffic, and it's kind of as well like a validation of whether your product is good or not. So I built this. It's very simple. It's really as simple as it could be. You can see like a list of events there, what's happening today. There's like a full week of events happening. It's all kind of like a startups and tech related. And you can browse by the dates. And that's it. That's all what it does. And so we put it on Product Hunt just for fun. Because as I said, like there was no business plan, we didn't want to really change the world. It was just fixing our own problem. So you put it up on Product Hunt, and what happened afterwards? It was actually first that day. So we got like a massive amount of traffic. We got so many hits. I think about like 7,000 hits in the past 2 days, and then what happened? We had like a forum on the site as well, and what the forum said is, if you want to start like an event hunt in your city, which was completely, we didn't actually thought that will happen, and actually people started, sending us these requests that they want to start an event hunt in their city, so they wanted to start kind of like creating their own events in their own city. So we got like loads of emails, which again, me being lazy, we didn't automate it, so it took us a lot of time to process this, but in the first week, what happened actually, we were in 38 cities, we had 27 curators, and we processed in that first week 573 events that were just published. So it kind of like validated our idea that, okay, well, maybe other people can use it. And actually today, these are stats from today, and it's just 1 month old. And we are right now in 48 cities, 45 curators, 605 sources. So that's the sources from Meetup, Eventbrite, and other kind of sites that we are fetching the data from. And we already processed about 3,500 events. And it's kind of like a really simple idea that all the data are being fetched to our site, and the curators, what they only have to do is that they just publish the events that they like. And well, actually, we have more slides. Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed one.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so that's basically that's it. That's the event hunt. If you have any idea about like business model and these kind of things, we are open to hear about these ideas of yours. But there is no plan to kind of further change it or improve it really. Yeah, that's it. Really.
Now we've got freelancer.com. Yeah. Ready? Yep. Sweet. We're going to try and speed this up a little bit. So we have some more thought time.
Hi. So I'm Adam, I'm from Free Freelancer. I'll try and keep this quite quick. So if you want to keep cycling the slides. Yep.
Give us a minute.
There's things happening in the background.
Okay. Yeah, you can just skip this one. This one is false because we're a public company. Next. So I'd like to start off with this quote. 160 million jobs, or about 11% of the projected 1.46 billion services jobs worldwide, could in theory be done online, which is pretty amazing to consider. Next slide. So that's kind of where we come in. We consider ourselves to be the eBay of jobs. We're a jobs marketplace. Next slide. You want it quick?
Awesome.
So how are we going? So we're basically the world's largest online outsourcing, freelancing, crowdsourcing marketplace in the world today, as measured by number of users and projects. We have about 40 million users who have added themselves posted about 7 million individual online jobs. Next. This is the kind of work that you can get done and the kind of quality. Next. So what do? Basically, we help small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs turn that spark of an idea into reality. We give them a way for them to kind of launch and produce their product by amplifying the skill sets that they don't have. So let's say that I'm a developer, I am probably pretty useless at design, so I could hire a designer, or vice versa. Or perhaps I'm a marketer and I'm trying to build a design product or a development product. Again, you apply the skill sets that you don't have. We're like a way for you to turn your basic idea into reality on your own. Next. On the other side of the world, we change lives in the developing world. And the reason we do this is because of the drastic difference in income scales. So, over here, $10 in the UK, or 10 pounds goes nowhere. £10 in India might be 2 days' wage. Next slide. So what do? As I said, we link startups and small businesses with a large, high-quality, on-demand entrepreneurial workforce of freelancers. Next slide. This is our online economy. So what this is a representation of a graph of basically our entire marketplace and entire sort of economy in one image. And the pink lines basically represent where the work is coming from, and the blue lines represent where it's actually being done. And you can see that this is sort of just two different graphs of what we looked like in 2013 and 2014. Next. And this is just an example of someone that you could hire. A designer for US $10 an hour, which in Bangladesh is about a day's wage. So this guy's getting about a day's wage in an hour. That makes him pretty motivated. We can just skip the next slide. It's just a few stats on what the work looks like. But what I really came to talk to you today about is the industry drivers. And what actually really will affect you as either freelancers or business owners as you travel the world. Well, what are the key kind of things, the key kind of macro trends that will be in play over the next 5 years? Next. Sorry. So the first thing to consider is that in the world today we have about 7.2 billion people, but shockingly only about 40% of those even have internet access. However, in the next 5 years that's going to change, and it's going to change drastically. Basically the other 60% of the world's population are going to come online, primarily through mobile internet. Next slide. So where are they going to come online? They're not going to come online in the traditional kind of internet demographics of Europe, of the USA, and even of Asia. They're going to come online in Africa, Latin America, the Middle East, and yeah, a lot more in Asia as well. I mean, still in Asia, a tiny percentage really of the population is online, only 34%. The other thing is that the depth of human knowledge is now available online. And what I mean by that, I mean that it's never been easier to learn a trade. You can go on to somewhere like Course Students or Khan Academy or any of these kind of websites and get a free online education, which really kind of leads to a lot of empowerment for people who come from countries where education is not considered a standard kind of universal right. Okay, next one, sorry. The final kind of major trend is that software is eating all. Every single business is becoming a software business, which is creating this massive opportunity for entrepreneurs worldwide to capitalize on. There has never been a point in history where there are so many potential new businesses and new ideas available. And this is just all due to kind of disruption by the internet. Next. So, even more importantly, everything that you need to build an online business is free, just about. And everything that isn't free, which is the next slide, is really, really cheap. It's not very expensive. You know, back in the day, it would cost, you know, hundreds of thousands, millions, maybe tens of millions of pounds to create a business. Today, you can basically build a business off the back of a credit card. So what does this mean for you guys as, you know, travelers and as people? You can build a business while you're traveling the world. I mean, we just heard an awesome example of that. And you know, you can amplify your skill sets. You can basically get it all done for a reasonably cost-effective price, and you can do it completely on the go. Alternatively, if you're looking for work, you can work on a platform like ours, and that's a great way to supplement your basic income. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for listening.
Hello. Yeah, hey, so my name is Yaniv. I'm from Silicon Milkroundabout. Does anyone know Silicon Milkroundabout? Right, cool. So this is Europe's biggest job fair, tech job fair, startups. We are in Shoreditch twice a year for the last 6 years, just over 4,000 people a day, and I think last time was over 200 companies. Myself, I'm kind of a digital nomad. It's a bit of a story of my life. But what started as being very kind of big traveler became to be someone who moves. So instead of going for 2 months and 2 weeks and then move on, it started to be you go to a place, you stay for 2 years, and then you move on. And what I come here to kind of tell you about is our first event outside of London. It's happening in Edinburgh on the 7th of March. We're going to have Scotland biggest job fair, tech job fair. I just came, I've been living there for 4 years, and it's a very, very amazing place. Jonathan will agree. I think for kind of digital nomad, it's kind of a very place to stay, to get to know, but also just to kind of family people, etc. So we're thinking about this kind of event. We have it's the biggest in Scotland. There's 200 plus jobs, 40 companies, and we're expecting run about 400 attendees. We thought what the ecosystem of Edinburgh really needs, and then we said there's so many people around there who's kind of open to move, but they need just a little bit extra. So we are sponsoring a part of travel and accommodation to 40 people to come and attend our event. We're going to give a £75 cashback and £30 Airbnb voucher. They were great to come and play with us. So if anyone interested, basically we closed the competition yesterday. It's a giveaway, it's not a competition, it's a draw. But just for the event today, we're going to keep it 24 hours more. So until tomorrow, midday, 12, you can still sign in. You can sign in now from your mobiles. So it's bit.ly/Nomad Power. If you can maybe pick one. So yeah, just a little bit of stats. It's 1 day. It's 40 tech startups from Edinburgh and high growth companies. We're focusing on developers, designers, product experts, tech marketeers, growth hackers, and data scientists. The nice thing is really meet face-to-face for co-founders and other kind of CTOs of big companies like Skyscanner and Amazon. And that's kind of the really kind of unique of what we deliver in recruitment-wise. Free bar, coffee, Wi-Fi, and a very, very relaxed atmosphere. So if you want, you can take a picture of the QR codes, or you can just go to bit.ly Nomad Power. Thanks.
Yeah. Can I get all the speakers up? Can you stay up and Johnny? Yeah. Okay. So guys, if you want to ask any questions, Can I get really raise your hands or anyone wants to ask? I want to say a big thanks to everyone for yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's quite a broad question, so please give a quick answer first. And it's just basically around if we're here and we haven't done any of this before, what are the key sort of skills or things we should do before we leave, or should we just go? You know, what's the kind of are there things that we can do to really prepare that we think of, brush up our skills, or something we should do before we go? That's all.
Yeah, I think there's two kind of ways to approach it that people can teach and Nomad. There's two areas. One is, are you a freelancer? And then basically what you need to pick up before you go is a client. That's a really great way to go on the channel. And second is really about understanding what you're going to be focused on and understanding if there's an area you're passionate about. So if you can go, for example, and say, I'm going to go to 6 months, 3 months I'm going to teach myself, and 3 months I'm going to create, that's great. So try to understand what you're going to be focusing on. Because once you're there, it's reaching the feeling. Try to decide.
Cool.
To back up what he said, you're going to need an income stream of some sort. So try and have at least the basics of that established before you leave, because it'll make it a lot easier rather than having to do it while you're on the go.
And I'd say in terms of learning skills, try and find a project that you're really passionate about, and then you'll find that it's much easier to learn how to code or learn something when you have to do it. And so you've got like the intent to do, as opposed to just doing some course that is maybe less.
Anyone else? No?
Yeah, question for Johnny. So first of all, I love your company. I think it's been inspiring. And last year, when I set out for my travel, I thought for the whole year, 2014, your manifesto was really inspiring.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you very much for that. And I have a very bad question here. What's your monetization? Sorry, but I'm curious. You've been working for 3 years now.
Yeah.
I know you're focused on the long term, but what's your plan?
Yeah, so we've been exploring a number of different options. In the near term, we're actually going to be selling the manifesto with the letterpress poster. We're not 100% sure what the next step is going to be, but we want to do potentially a Kickstarter project to kind of basically ask our community to help fund the project for us. Like, we'd always rather do that than go down the VC route, because it allows us to kind of align the interests between the community and what we're doing. There's also some possibilities around place pages and things, and getting sponsorship from like destination marketing organizations who have fairly big budgets, kind of sponsored storytelling competitions, themes, kind of ideas around sponsored content, but also rewarding the storytellers and the photographers for their hard work. Like, it's really our mission to kind of help fund more of those stories and try and make that possible. But yes, it's certainly something that we're looking into soon. But for the time being, we've been okay freelancing, and we'd rather grow things slowly.
So are you currently freelancing while building it?
Yeah, we're currently freelancing 1 to 2 days a week.
What kind of stuff do you guys do?
So we have a great company in the US. We kind of work as a team. So I do the marketing stuff, Dean does the coding, and Dorothy does design. So we kind of work. We've been working as a unit, which has been quite a good approach. But yeah, certainly balancing the two can be a bit tricky.
Anyone else? We can ask each other questions. I was asking you earlier, like, how does freelancer compare to Otis? What's the difference?
Yeah, so I mean, from our perspective, the main difference is that we're very much targeted at the small guy. We don't really do a corporate offering. In fact, we often turn them actively away because they're just too much trouble for us. We're very much self-service model, kind of pitched at small businesses, entrepreneurs, and small kind of freelancers. Typically, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 people size companies at most. We don't really tend to deal with massive companies at all. And that's probably our primary differentiator. Generally, we're a lot larger, we're a bit more liquid, and we're more of a tech company as well. Like, Otis is a little bit more of their typical job might be to outsource, Facebook's moderation. So when you post a picture, they filter out inappropriate content. And off the top of my head, they use Odesk for that. Where we're kind of more about helping a small business with just get a flyer done or something like that. And it's sort of becoming a very different market for us, at least anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So classically or traditionally, it's going to be, let's say, Far East providing services to West Europe.
Sure.
Say. What about the opposite? What about people from West Europe who want to travel? Do you see kind of traction for a copywriter from the UK offering his service for a higher rate?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, my editor, which I use every day, about 25% of all his income, and he earns a fairly significant income, that comes from countries that are not in the West. I actually used him as a case study because I had a journalist ask me this exact question the other day, so just kind of convenient, I guess. But yeah. So yeah, the answer is yes. We do see a lot of sort of what we call backflow, where countries that typically perform the work actually outsource the work too.
Anyone else?
What do you see as being the challenges for the digital hacking, and where do you kind of see it heading?
How do you I mean, from a personal perspective, I can only speak to myself, and I think it's different for everyone. And a friend of mine is actually, he's writing a blog post which is like a list of problems that nomads have. Do I need to use a microphone?
No.
Oh, right. Can you guys hear back? Well, yeah, okay.
Okay, let's try the microphone. So I was just saying, I can only speak of challenges for digital nomads from a personal perspective, what I feel myself. Although I was just saying, a friend of mine, he's crowdsourcing a whole list of different problems. But the one that sticks out for me is, when you're on the road and you're doing your own thing, at some point you're always going to be on your own, and you're always going to find loneliness. And that's probably the hardest thing, my experience that I've dealt with. I think, can I ask people to raise their hands if they're part of the Slack group of nomads? Awesome. Yeah, I think we got, maybe 50% of the room? So I keep evangelizing this. It's basically like a communication platform. It's like messaging, as in Facebook messaging or WhatsApp or whatever, but it's just 10 times better. And it just basically helps everyone keep in touch. Like, you can contact anyone in the, you have like all these different kind of groups set up for different parts of the globe. So I was in Medellin in Colombia during December for a month, and I went to Medellin. I didn't know anyone there, but I knew there were a lot of sort of nomadic types working there. So I asked, there's a girl in the group, and she basically sets up events for people. So she basically, does all the Facebook stuff, all that boring stuff that takes ages, and then just like kind of puts it out there. So I said to her, you just have to give her a time and a place. So I said, look, I'm arriving in Medellin this day. I just picked some random bar in Medellin. I said like 8 o'clock, and like 20 people turned up. It was awesome, and I think that's just like one tool, one way of helping grow a network, basically. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
This is kind of the beginning. What would happen?
Oh yeah. I don't think I'm the best person to answer that question, but it's good that you asked that, because I don't want to plug paid events, etc. But there is a digital nomad conference that's happening in Germany, in Berlin. Do you remember? It's called 1st of August. There we go. Awesome. Thank you. And there are going to be a lot of sort of prominent people in the kind of movement at the moment who are going to be talking exactly about that. And I think they're probably much better positioned to answer that question than I am.
Yeah. I think I wanted to chat you about all the nice things that there are now.
Yeah.
And how things are going to evolve.
Yeah.
From a personal experience, again, digital nomad is brilliant, but then after a while, you start to slow down. And then it started to be about the place, or about, try to move forward.
I don't know.
So what is digital nomads? I've never heard. But what later?
You know, in a sense, like, okay, I don't. I mean, I don't want to go French, but you know, in a sense, it's actually a term that I think people like me do get a bit tired of as well, because it's kind of being marketed in a certain way. A lot of people have sort of made it to be out this dream and kind of covered the the grimy parts and that sort of thing. I mean, I think work is changing. I mean, remote work is becoming easier. There's the advent of, I think the first kind of breakthrough was Skype, and well, obviously email, Skype, and it's just sort of progressing as more and more tools and ways, and I think you made some really great points about like the advent of internet reaching remote populations and stuff. So I remember like going out into like remote, like going to teach English with monks in rural Cambodia, and there were like all these kids running around in Angry Birds t-shirts. I'm like, what the but yeah, it's yes.
A huge percentage of the world, just 5 years ago, did not have internet access, but does today. And in another five years, that percentage is going to grow remarkably as well. Through a whole variety of initiatives, but predominantly just the mobile web is really what's kind of causing this surge, because it's just a lot cheaper and the barriers to entry are a lot lower.
Yeah, I was in a Facebook campaign for that just a couple of days ago. Facebook posting internet over fees by like so-and-so was building a webmail but doesn't have access to the internet.
Well, they do. They have Wikipedia Zero in most of sub-Saharan Africa.
I guess the main point is that there's a lot of companies and a lot of initiatives and a lot of lots of other things that are not always there for the right reasons, but at the end of the day, a variety of initiatives is pushing internet online basically everywhere and anywhere you can possibly imagine throughout the world. And I think overall that's a really good change. And as I said, it's really going to change the fundamental demographics of the internet, not just where you can access it, but who's on it. And if you're selling a product or a service, who are your customers? If you're selling a product, you have to start thinking about your pricing much more, because the average customer in Africa won't have the same amount of money to spend as the average customer in, say, the UK. And so you really have to rethink your pricing strategy around that. And I think just little things like that is being caused by this dramatic demographic shift.
One more, yeah. Yeah, my question is about the sort of obvious nomad destination countries. Do they all have very favorable, should we say, legal visa statuses, or are we flying under the radar as a tourist and nobody asks any questions, or?
This is a really good question. Yeah, I mean, there's still a massive sort of grey legal area there. So the majority of people, that I'm aware of, I mean, people don't really usually disclose this sort of information very publicly, but most people tend to be self-employed in their home countries, pay tax back home, although they have to be, you have to be residents for at least 6 months or something like that, which the majority do that. And then, so what some people do to stay on the right side of the law is they then, once they've reached a certain stage in their business where they can afford it, they then incorporate in places that are very favorable to tax, and also where you have a legal status that's it's where you're able to basically just set up a company say in Singapore, Hong Kong, British Virgin Islands, where you have to pay a lawyer, you have to kind of get it all set up legally. But then the tax that you pay is peanuts. And yeah, so actually there's a legal expert who I think is here tonight, who I'd like to sit down with. Obviously legal issues differ from country to country, so it requires quite a lot of expertise. But I think it's something that's really interesting to address, and it's always changing as well. So yeah, that's not a very conclusive answer, but what the heck. Yeah. Any more questions, or should we just go and get drunk? Yeah, I think I heard a yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's mingle, have fun. Please do let me know and give a big round of applause for our speaker. I think they're awesome. Yeah, and please do come, give us feedback what you thought this event. Yeah, let's have fun.
Yeah.